In this Rays of Hope segment, we're talking with 10-year-old Ava and her parents, Sarah and Brandon Turman. I'm extremely proud to say that Ava has been relying on a Guskier Central line vest to protect her line for almost a decade. Ava volunteers her time as a patient ambassador at her hospital in Dallas, and their family focuses on enjoying all the normal experiences that life has to offer, made even sweeter by living life with medical challenges. The whole family shared fantastic tips and strategies for making hospital stays easier, and there's tons of practical advice for families in this conversation. Here are Ava, Sarah, and Brandon Turman, along with our very own Amy Braglia-Tarpey in this Rays of Hope spotlight.
Well, hello. I'm so excited to have the Turman family here today with me. We have Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Ava,
Hello.
and
Hi.
Brandon.
Good afternoon.
Where do you call home?
Well, we live in the North Dallas area, so we're in North Dallas, Texas, in a town called the Colony. It's next to Frisco. Lots of growth has happened here, so you probably heard of that place. But it used to be a small town right next to Frisco, Texas, just north of Dallas.
Sounds like a wonderful place to be.
Love it.
Except in August in the summer. You might want to stay inside.
I understand that. I live in Arizona, so.
Yep.
It's kind of warm.
Okay. So, can you tell us a little bit of your story and whatever you're comfortable sharing about Ava's medical journey and your journey as a family?
Sure. So Ava is our first and only child. And we had a pretty normal pregnancy with her. But after she was born, the doctors noticed some complications, which led to a lot of testing. She was having a trouble like with, absorbing nutrition and not having just regular intestinal movement, things like that. And after a very long stay in the NICU, we were there for about 3 months with lots and lots of testing, things like that. Through all of that, we finally determined she had a very rare diagnosis. It's called MMIHS, and that's it's for a long word that means megacystis microcolon intestinal hypoperistalsis syndrome. So much easier to say MMIHS. And that just basically meant that her intestines don't work typically. It's a smooth muscle disorder, and it affects like the bladder and kidneys and intestines. So when she was 2 days old, she actually got her central line placed, and she's had a central line ever since. She currently has a central line Broviac, and she's had that actual line for almost 5 years, which we're really excited about because we haven't had any issues, and definitely I think a lot of that's due to Gus Gear helping us protect it. But yeah, she's on TPN and infusions for about anywhere from 16 to 20 hours a day, depending what all infusions we're doing that day. So we have had a long journey. What did I miss?
That's pretty encompassing so far.
Yeah, that's the highlights, but we're in a pretty good spot right now. Ava gets to do a lot of normal kid things, and we always just kind of enjoy the normal times because we know there's some times that aren't so great, or we might have to be in the hospital or be not feeling well. But we've kind of gotten to a pretty good place where we can at least manage her medical stuff.
We definitely ebb and flow when she's on her fluids to coincide with times at school where she can, go to PE, she can go to recess, not be hooked up to her fluids that way. So we've worked out a really good schedule to where we can give her the normal that she deserves in daily life.
I was thinking about PE, Ava. Can you kind of tell her about, like, even if you're not hooked up to TPN during PE, how does your vest kind of help you?
Like if like a ball like comes like at me, like it helps it like not like shift.
So it can kind of protect you right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that you're doing the things that everyone else is doing because you should be. You're a kid. And I'm glad that Gus Gear is helping. Do you remember what life was like before and after Gus Gear? It sounds like you started it pretty early on, but do you remember how and when you first heard about Gus Gear?
You
Not
probably don't
really.
you
probably
probably don't
don't.
remember
No.
ever not having it. I believe that Ava started using Gus Gear around the age of 1. So probably all of us don't really remember not having it. Kind of is just like a normal part of life, right?
Yeah, the only time I don't remember having one is like during surgeries.
Yeah.
And like when they took it out.
There was a time she had to have her line out for a few days. What was that like, not having a line or gust gear?
Weird.
It was weird.
It's definitely different.
It
Yeah.
felt weird because you're so used to it, right? Like
Yeah.
kind of part of your daily stuff.
Sarah and I were talking a little bit about this, and one time that we both definitely remember was prior to Gus Gear, was when Ava was gosh, one less than one.
So,
She was
yeah.
a baby, and Sarah woke up, and to her dismay, Ava had ripped open her dressing change, or her dressing, and it was just
In the middle of the night.
in the middle of the night. So a little uneasy, right? And so I think for babies, if it's unnatural, they'll start to kind of paw at the dressing, because it can be a little itchy at times, right? So having the Gus Gear has helped keep this area definitely protected, sterile, and safe from prying hands of
Grabby
toddlers.
hands. Yeah, it definitely helped us with that, to feel more secure after all of that. That happened a few times actually, where she would kind of like scratch at her dressing and pull at things. And so when we had the Gus Gear, it just was that extra layer of protection, kind of keeping her hands away, especially from the actual site. We didn't want her to get at that. But yeah, I remember I think we first learned about Gus Gear when she was about 1 year old. And I believe it was like other medical families that mentioned using it. I believe it was maybe even from like the Oli Foundation, or I might have seen it on like some groups we're connected to, like on social media with like other TPN families, things like that. That's how I first learned about it. And I was so desperate to figure out, what should we do with this, baby that's grabbing at her dressing all the time. We're doing middle of the night dressing changes. So that's kind of how we first heard about it. But we really can't honestly imagine life without it, because we've just had it, she's 10, so we've had it almost 10 years.
Wow, that's great to hear. And we hear that a lot from parents whose children are that, infants, toddlers, really trying to get to the dressing. And so that is a real challenge. All right. Well, shifting gears, Ava, what do you like to do for fun?
I like to listen to music. I like to draw. I like to swim, and I like to do video games a lot.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you get to go swimming often?
Only during the summer, because other times it's closed.
Yeah. Well, fortunately in Texas, it stays warm for majority of
It does.
the year.
It's long, pretty long time that we get to have the warm summers. Did you tell her that you also, what else do you do on Mondays?
Oh yeah, I go to violin.
Violin.
So yeah, we wanted to introduce just the concept of music to her. She chose violin, so we take violin lessons. So next year we're hoping to get into what
Orchestra.
Yep, orchestra next year. So
Ava will be going to middle school next year, so she got to pick some of her classes, and she's going to do orchestra.
Yeah, that's a big transition. Are you excited for middle school, or is it scary?
I'm excited and nervous because I've been at my elementary school like since pre-K.
yeah,
Big change, huh?
yeah, but
It'll
new
be fun.
opportunities,
It'll be fun.
new fun, new friends, different stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. What tips would you give other families to make hospital visits or medical procedures more manageable? And that can come from both of you as parents and as the person with the parental nutrition.
What do you think, Ava?
Maybe like bringing like your favorite like pillow or blanket from home, or some toys or stuffed animals to like keep them entertained.
Because sometimes it can get kind of boring in the hospital once you start to feel better,
Very.
right? It can get very boring.
What kind of things do you like to bring? Like, do you like to bring like games or crafts or?
I like to bring a lot of crafts.
Yep.
and stuffies.
Yeah.
I have like 1 million of them in my bedroom.
She's not exaggerating.
I have 1 million.
Those stuffed animals, there's one stuffed animal you've had the whole time and you take it to every hospital stay, right?
Lammy.
Her name's Lammy and she's kind of like a comfort one, isn't she? Yeah. I agree. I think it's good for you guys to have like stuff to do. Also, we do bring a lot of like arts, crafts, Legos, things they can do once she's starting to feel better. But like you said, maybe like your own blanket and comforting
Yeah.
things for when you're not feeling so great at the hospital, right? Yeah.
I think for families, you know, if you've got the ability to share the load, right, it can sometimes be a long stay. I think the longest stay that we've had was 24, 25 days. Normal stay for us is, well, in the past has been 3 to 4, 3 to 5 days. But that gets taxing after a while, right? Especially on one individual. But having, you know, 2 people there, or a backup person that is trusted with medical knowledge and advice around your kid's situation is very helpful, right? Just to be able to unplug and decompress and recharge the batteries, because it can be a little taxing. You know, 4 o'clock in the morning, people are making rounds. Student
Pricking me.
yeah, poking and prodding at Ava. Students coming in if it's a teaching hospital, just wanting to know more. You know, so, you know, your sleep is minimal. And so you can definitely
Get very little of it.
get very little sleep, but it's nice to be able to recharge if that's available for you.
I think it's also nice to have a second person to like hear the information that the doctors are telling you, and because it's sometimes a lot to absorb. So I know that what we've done before is, even if we're both not currently at the hospital, or like during COVID time, they'd only allow one parent there at a time. We would FaceTime at the same time. So like Brandon and I could both hear the information
Or
the
when
doctors,
we'd switch out.
or we'd switch out. Yep. Yeah, that helps a lot. But I think it's important for more than one person to kind of hear the information, because then you have different questions. Like Brandon asks questions that I would never think of, you know? And so it's like we kind of can tag team that and just think of all angles to be sure that we're advocating for Ava the best we can.
Plus, you can play good cop and bad cop if you're not getting what you need.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm usually the good one.
I'm okay
Tell
with
her
it.
what happened, like with like lab waiting.
Maybe.
You have to advocate strongly,
Very true.
but you have to have a balance and be respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll save that story for another time.
We'll tell her that later.